After the apocalypse, most of Australia has become a desert wasteland. However, a tribe called the Vuvalini of the Many Mothers lives in an isolated oasis. One day, while collecting peaches, Furiosa and her friend Valkyrie observe a group of marauders killing a horse in the oasis. Furiosa tells Valkyrie to hide in order to protect their home from intruders, and then attempts to sabotage the gang's motorcycles. The gang captures and kidnaps her while Furiosa calls for help. Furiosa's mother, Mary, and her friend pursue and murdered some of the gang members, but not the one with Furiosa. Finally, the surviving gang member arrives to his camp, which is run by the cruel Dementors. Furiosa manages to slice the gang member's throat before he can reveal where the oasis is. Dementus, who recalls losing his own children after the apocalypse, takes Furiosa to a tent and vows to take her home the next day. Mary sneaks in during a sandstorm, killing Furiosa's guards and fleeing with her kid. However, Dementus uses his bloodhounds to track down the two. Eventually, Dementus and his gang catch the two. He severely tortures Mary in front of Furiosa to get the oasis location, but Mary never gives it before dying. Furiosa then becomes mute, refusing to speak for years. Furiosa's only reminder of home is a seed from the peach tree she was collecting. Dementus keeps Furiosa as a prisoner, despite the fact that he often speaks to her as his daughter. She is forced to watch as his gang grows in number and cruelty. One such incident occurs when Dementus and friends corner a smaller group and force them to join his gang. As part of the ceremony, the small group's leader gets chained to 5 motorcycles. The remaining members of the group are then compelled to battle to get on the motorbike, otherwise Dementus will kill them all. After the 5 winners, including Elsa Patake in a different role, take their seats on the motorbike, they speed away and destroy their former leader. Dementus and his gang later discover a brain-damaged war boy wandering in the desert. He was evidently injured in a combat with an unknown enemies. The war boy informs Dementus about his home in the citadel, which has abundance of water and food. While checking through the war boy's stuff, they fire his flare gun, which paints Dementus' beard red, much to his delight. Dementus and his massive gang enter the citadel, a fortress built within rock formations that pumps pure, fresh water from beneath the surface into a cistern at the top of the rock formations, and attempt to turn the people against their commander, Immortan Joe. Joe, along with his assistant the People Eater and sons Rictus and Scrotus, mocks Dementus. He orders his war boys, Joe's soldiers, throw explosives at Dementus' gang from above and utilize cranes to lift away many of their vehicles. Dementus leaves with his remaining forces, but begins to observe the citadel. He realizes that the citadel exchanges food and water for petrol from nearby Gastown and bullets from the bullet farm. Dementus and his army manage to take over one of the citadel's cargo vehicles, known as a war rig. On it travels from Gastown and use it to sneak in his warriors. Once inside, Dementus soldiers attack Gastown's forces, open the gates, and take control. As the new guy in control, Dementus begins negotiations with Joe, threatening to blow up Gastown with a remote detonation if Joe attempts to assassinate him. Joe offers to boost the amount of water and food gave to Gastown in exchange for Furiosa. Healthy women are very rare, so he hopes to one day marry her, and the organic mechanic, a guy with medical knowledge. Dementus refuses the deal, saying that Joe would not separate him from his daughter, but Furiosa speaks up for the first time in years, saying that she is not his daughter and that she wants to join the citadel. Dementus then accepts the deal. Furiosa is eventually able to escape the room where Joe keeps his captive wives and breeders. She then hides herself as a boy and joins Scrotus' squad, helping build new vehicles and more deadly war devices. Years pass, and Furiosa becomes a young adult. She is a respected crew member who has proven her mechanical skills. Furiosa continues to pretend she is mute. She sets up a secret plan to flee and return home. Praetorian Jack is Joe's best driver, having never lost a war rig in transportation. Furiosa sneaks aboard the war rig's undercarriage as he departs for his most recent trip to Gastown and Bullet Farm. Unfortunately, the war rig is attacked by a gang who separated from Dementus' gang and were driven out from Gastown. A major battle begins, with the gang deploying various gliders and flying vehicles against Jack and his men. Jack and Furiosa were the only survivors of the war. Furiosa attempts to steal the war rig, but Jack manages to stop her. The two then talk, and Jack offers to make Furiosa his apprentice so she may learn everything he knows about cars and fighting. With that knowledge, she will be able to make a proper escape when the time comes. Furiosa accepts the offer. More time passes, and Furiosa becomes a Praetorian and Jack's second-in-command. Moreover, they have fallen in love. One night, as Jack and Furiosa are talking in a hidden crag atop the citadel, Jack says he feels Furiosa is ready to break free. He also admits that he supported her because his parents believed that nothing was more essential than fighting for a cause, and he believes he is finally accomplishing that by assisting her. Jack then asks Furiosa if he can join her, and she agrees. On their second trip to the Bullet Farm, the farm's commander, the Bullet Farmer, informs them that Gastown is beginning to split apart and that he and Joe should strike Dementus while he is distracted by the disorder. When they arrive in Gastown, they realize that the community is in chaos and on the verge of collapse. Despite the food supplies, many people are hungry as a result of Dementus' poor administration. As the food and water are unloaded, Dementus arrives and asks a meeting with Joe and the Bullet Farmer to discuss how they might restore order in Gastown. He then provokes the citizens to take flight, and Furiosa and Jack barely make it out alive. When they inform Joe, he recalls the Bullet Farmer to the citadel, where he, his sons, and advisors discuss what to do. They eventually decide to assault Dementus and send the Praetorians to the Bullet Farm to get all of the weapons they can carry. After receiving their orders, Furiosa and Jack decide to flee the mission. At the Bullet Farm, Dementus and his soldiers attack the Citadel forces. Dementus had expected Joe and the Bullet Farmer to try to steal all the ammunition and murder him, so he launched a surprise attack against the farm and stole it for himself while the farmer was out. The war boys are quickly eliminated, and Jack becomes trapped within Bullet Farm. He orders Furiosa to flee as he starts a one-man attack on Dementus. She refuses to abandon him and willingly enters the Bullet Farm. The two of them manage to make an amazing escape. Dementus and his forces are enraged by their defiance and chase both of them. Despite their best efforts, Dementus captures Furiosa and Jack, who does not recognize the fully grown Furiosa. To punish them for their hope and love, he ties Furiosa and then has Jack killed by being pulled by a motorbike and eaten by his bloodhounds. During the show, Furiosa saws off her chained arm, sabotages Dementus' vehicles, and flees. She returns to the Citadel, probably aided by Mad Max Rokitansky, who is seen observing her as she crosses the desert, and informs Immortan Joe and the Bullet Farmer that what happened. She then promises to personally kill Dementus. Scrotus leads the war. As the fighting continues, Furiosa constructs a mechanical arm and drives out to the front. There, she sees that Scrotus has won the conflict. Dementus walked away into the desert when his army were destroyed. Furiosa pursues Dementus into the desert, killing his last remaining friends while stalking them. Eventually, Dementus is the only surviving member of his once mighty gang. He awakens one morning to discover his bottle slit open, his motorbike destroyed, and his weapons emptied of ammo. Furiosa confronts him, and after a brief battle, he surrenders. As she tortures him, he finally realizes who she is. Instead of fearing her, he is delighted to be reunited with his daughter. He claims Furiosa will be his actual successor because she is now driven by bloodlust and vengeance, just like he is. Furiosa denies what he says, claiming she will prove she is not like him. The film's voiceover presents several different endings. One scenario is that Furiosa simply shoots and kills Dementus. Another is that she tortures Dementus in the same way as he tortured Mary and Jack. But the person telling the tale then exposes what Furiosa says happened. Furiosa claims to have brought Dementus back to the Citadel. She planted a peach tree seed inside him. The tree flourished, sprouting from his stomach and growing new fruit from his despairing body. And the film ends with Furiosa transporting Immortan Joe's wives into her war rig, freeing them from the Citadel and Joe's tyranny, as seen in Mad Max: Fury Road.